5 years ago, Ava was at the altar, ready to start a new life with the man she loved. But tonight, her dreams were shattered at the kitchen table. They were replaced by a cruel reality, a spreadsheet calculating the cost of their love. The church was decorated with white flowers and twinkling lights, and the sweet smell of roses and lilies filled the air. She looked stunning in her wedding dress, a dream of lace and tulle, while Daniel, in his perfectly fitted suit, was anxiously waiting for her at the altar. "I accept," Ava whispered, tears of joy in her eyes as they exchanged vows. Happiness radiated from their faces as they had their first kiss as husband and wife. That moment, that kiss, marked the beginning of a new journey. But today, 5 years later, Ava was sitting at the kitchen table, with a sheet of paper in front of her that seemed to weigh a ton. It was their wedding anniversary, a date that had always brought joy and celebration, but now it was tainted by a cruel reality. Daniel, who had always been her safe haven, entered the kitchen with a grim expression. "There's one important thing I need to say," he said, his voice laden with tension. Ava, who was preparing the special dinner she had planned to celebrate the date, felt her heart sink. "We had reservations for 8 p.m., she said, trying to stay calm. "I spent all afternoon looking for the perfect outfit for our little Ben and getting everything ready for tonight." Daniel took a deep breath, visibly uncomfortable. "Ava, what I have to say can't wait. I need you to see this." He put a spreadsheet in front of her. Ava, confused, began to read. Each row detailed an expense. Each column represented a part of their life together. The total at the bottom was shocking: $300,000. "That's how much you cost me," he said, bluntly. "I want you to pay me back." Daniel's words hit Ava like a punch. The room, which had once looked so familiar, now looked like a minefield. How could he calculate the value of his love, of his sacrifices, as if they were mere financial transactions? "I'll pay you back," she said finally, her voice trembling. "But you will realize that the price will be much higher than you imagine." The next morning, Ava woke up with a feeling of emptiness in her chest. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, creating a cruel contrast to the darkness she felt inside. Ben, his little miracle, slept peacefully in the crib next to the bed, oblivious to the storm that was hitting his family. Daniel had already left for work, leaving the spreadsheet as a silent reminder of his cruel demand. Ava looked at the document again, feeling the pain and indignation grow in her heart. Each line was a blow to her dignity, a testament to Daniel seeing no value in what she contributed to their lives. Determined not to be underestimated, Ava spent the day documenting her own contributions. Every meal cooked, every night awake taking care of Ben, every renunciation of his successful career. All of this had a value, and she was willing to show it to Daniel. She used her skills with numbers, the one that had made her a star in the world of finance, to create a new spreadsheet, this time highlighting her value. When Daniel came home, exhausted and unconcerned, Ava was waiting. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady. Daniel looked surprised, but nodded. She put the new spreadsheet in front of him. "Here is the cost of everything I have done for our family," he explained, his voice controlled. "Every sacrifice, every moment, every dream I left behind." Daniel picked up the document and began to read, his eyes widening with each line. The total was even more shocking than the amount he had presented to her. "That can't be right," he murmured, the color fading from his face. Ava stared at him. "Perhaps you now realize that our love and sacrifices cannot be measured in dollars. But if it's money you want, it's money you'll get." As Daniel remained silent, the cracks in the glass of their relationship became more and more visible, and Ava knew there was no turning back. The following days passed in a blur of tensions and awkward silences. Ava and Daniel moved around the house as strangers, avoiding each other whenever possible. The spreadsheet Ava had made, now highlighted on the kitchen table, looked like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. One night, after putting Ben to sleep, Ava sat up on the couch with a heavy sigh. She felt exhausted, but determined. She knew she needed more than just numbers to make Daniel understand the weight of her actions. He picked up a dusty photo album from the shelf. Each page told the story of their love, the first date, the travels, the happiness in the small moments. He flipped through the pages until he reached the photos of his wedding. The memories of that perfect day filled her eyes with tears. That's what we're missing, he thought, feeling a pinch in his heart. Daniel entered the room, looking equally exhausted. Can we talk? Ava asked, her voice soft. He nodded and sat down next to her. Look, Ava said, showing the photos. Do you remember how happy we were? How do we promise to face anything together? Daniel looked at the images, the expression of hardness on his face beginning to soften. Yes, he mumbled. I remember. So why all this? Ava asked, pointing to the spreadsheet. Why turn our love into a business transaction? He sighed deeply, running his hands over his face. Ava, I was frustrated, scared. I don't know what happened to me. Frustration and fear don't justify what you did. Ava replied, her voice firm. I gave my all to this family, and you didn't see it. Daniel lowered his head, feeling the weight of his actions. I'm sorry, he said finally, his voice broken. I don't know how to fix it. Ava took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. It's not too late, Daniel, but we need to want to fix it together. He looked into her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, Ava saw a glimpse of the man she married. I'm willing to try, he said, sincerely, if you still are. Ava nodded slowly. Let's try, he replied. But deep down, she knew that the road to reconciliation would be long and full of challenges. The next morning brought a faint sense of hope. Ava woke up feeling a little less weight in her heart. Daniel was in the kitchen, preparing coffee, a scene so common that it almost seemed normal. He looked at her with an expression that mixed regret and determination. Can we try to start over? He asked, offering a cup of coffee. Ava picked up the cup and nodded. We can, but it won't be easy. We need time and will to rebuild this. The days that followed were a mixture of attempts to reconnect and moments of tension. They began attending couples therapy, something Daniel suggested as a first step toward repairing the broken trust. In the sessions, the therapist's words were like tools, digging deep into the wounds and helping to expose the roots of their problems. Ava, do you feel that your contributions have been valued? Asked the therapist in one particularly intense session. Ava looked at Daniel before answering. No, I felt undervalued and undervalued. I left a career I loved to take care of our family, and I never imagined it would become a weapon against me. Daniel squinted, absorbing her words. I realize now how selfish I was. It was never about money. It was my fear of not being enough, of not providing enough. Providing isn't just about money, Ava replied softly. It's about support, respect, and love. At home, they began to spend more time together, reminiscing about the good times and rediscovering the little things that brought them together in the first place. One day, Daniel brought home a framed photo from his wedding and placed it in the living room. To remind us of what we are fighting to save, he said. Ava smiled, feeling a twinge of hope. We are taking steps in the right direction, he thought, but there is still much to be done. As the weeks passed, the awkward silences began to subside, replaced by heartfelt conversations and genuine efforts to understand each other. Although the scars of the spreadsheet were still present, each day of working together helped smooth out the rough edges. They were far from solving everything, but for the first time in a long time, they were moving in the same direction, ready to face challenges together. As they put Ben to sleep that night, Daniel held Ava's hand. We will make it, he whispered. Ava squeezed his hand back, feeling the strength of their bond slowly rebuild. Yes, we will, she replied with renewed determination. The days passed at a slow and deliberate pace. Ava and Daniel were still adjusting to the new dynamics of their relationship. It was like walking a tightrope, where each step had to be carefully calculated so as not to fall apart. But they were willing to try, at every moment. One afternoon, while Ben was taking a nap, Ava decided to clean out the attic. She found a box of memories from the time when she and Daniel were just starting to date. Travel photos, movie tickets, and even love letters. Sitting on the dusty floor, Ava began to cry. Silent tears of longing and regret streamed down his face. Daniel found her like this, lost in memories. Do you remember these? He asked, taking a photo of the two of them on a trip to the beach. Ava nodded, wiping away her tears. Yes, I remember. We were so happy, so carefree. I miss that, Daniel said, sitting next to her. I miss us. Ava looked into Daniel's eyes, seeing the reflection of her own feelings. I miss us too, Daniel, but we have to find a way to bring that back. Let's try, he said, taking his hand. Let's recreate those moments. Let's start over. They started doing little things together again, cooking together, walking in the park with Ben, watching movies they loved. Every small gesture helped to rebuild the bridge that had been almost destroyed. One night, after putting Ben to sleep, Daniel showed up with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. We will toast to us, he said with a shy smile. Ava smiled back. To us, he repeated, raising his glass. They toasted, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. But the road was still long and full of obstacles. Ava knew that. There were moments of doubt, fear, and pain. But there were also moments of joy, rediscovery, and hope. And that was what kept Ava firm in her purpose. As Daniel hugged her that night, Ava whispered in her ear, "Let's make it. Together." "Yes, together," he replied, squeezing her tighter. And so, through the storms and calms, Ava and Daniel continued to sail, determined to find their way back to the love they once shared. As the months passed, the open wounds began to heal slowly. Ava and Daniel were finding a new rhythm, one that was based on respect and understanding. However, as with any healing process, there were good days and bad days. On a rainy afternoon, Ava was in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Ben played on the floor with his building blocks, laughing happily. Daniel entered the kitchen, soaked from the rain, but with a smile on his face. "Guess what I got?" he said, shaking an envelope. Ava looked at him curiously. "What is it?" Daniel handed her the envelope. Inside, there were tickets to a concert by the band they loved, that same band whose concert they had missed because of an emergency at work years ago. "I thought it would be a good way for us to remember what it's like to have fun together," he explained. Ava smiled, feeling a wave of affection for Daniel. "I would love to," she said, hugging him. That night, after leaving Ben with a trusted babysitter, they went to the concert. In the crowd, with loud music and lights shining, Ava allowed herself to relax and enjoy the moment. She felt like the young woman who had once fallen in love with Daniel. And for a few hours, all worries seemed to disappear. Back home, while they were still lulled by the euphoria of the show, Daniel stopped the car in a park they used to visit when they started dating. "Let's go for a walk," he suggested. Walking hand in hand, Daniel stopped suddenly and looked deeply into Ava's eyes. "I need to tell you something," he began. During all this time, in addition to fear and frustration, there was something more. I felt so insecure, so inadequate, and I used the money as an excuse not to face my own demons. Ava squeezed his hand, sensing the sincerity in his words. "We all have our demons, Daniel, but the difference is in how we deal with them. And I'm here to help you, as long as you're willing to do the same for me." Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of truth in Ava's words. "I'm willing," he promised. They returned home in silence, but it was a comfortable silence, full of unspoken promises and a new understanding. That night, as they were getting ready for bed, Ava felt that, for the first time in a long time, they were truly connected. They were mending the broken pieces, one step at a time. And so, Ava and Daniel's journey continued, with new challenges and revelations. But with each obstacle overcome, they grew stronger, ready to face whatever came their way, side by side. Spring has arrived, bringing a breath of renewal into Ava and Daniel's lives. Although their wounds were not yet fully healed, they continued to build a new foundation for their relationship. Couples therapy became a weekly ritual, where each session brought them a little closer to mutual understanding. One afternoon, while Ben was at daycare, Ava decided to take a walk in the park. She needed some alone time to reflect. Sitting on a bench, she watched the children playing and the couple strolling, lost in thought. The gentle wind caressed her face, bringing a sense of calm she hadn't felt in a long time. His phone vibrated. It was a message from Daniel. "I thought about you all day. I hope you're doing well. I love you." Ava smiled, feeling a surge of affection. Daniel was making genuine efforts, and it meant a lot to her. Back home, Ava found Daniel in the living room, surrounded by papers and notes. "What are you doing?" she asked, curious. Daniel looked up, a gleam of determination in his eyes. "I'm working on a financial plan for us. I want to make sure we're safe, but I also want you to feel valued in every decision." Ava approached, picking up one of the leaves. "That's very important to you, isn't it?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "I realized that my fear of losing control was destroying us. I want us to make these decisions together." She felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you, Daniel. It means a lot to me." Over the next few days, they worked together on this plan, discussing every detail. It was an exercise in patience and communication, where each one listened and respected the other's opinion. There were disagreements, of course, but there were also moments of deep understanding and connection. One night, while they were preparing dinner, Ava looked at Daniel and said, "I'm proud of us. We are doing this together." Daniel smiled, reaching out to hug her. "And we will do it better and better," he said, with conviction. That night, as they watched a movie on the couch, Ben asleep among them, Ava felt a comforting warmth in her heart. There was still a lot to be done, but for the first time in a long time, she believed they were on the right track. Ava and Daniel's journey was far from over, but each step taken strengthened the bonds that bound them together. They were learning that true love isn't perfect, but is built day in and day out, with patience, respect, and a generous dose of understanding. With the arrival of summer, Ava and Daniel's lives seemed to be stabilizing. They continued to work together, both on the relationship and on plans for the future. But like any healing path, there were unexpected twists and turns. One day, while organizing the attic, Ava found an old box of letters. It belonged to her college friend, Emily, with whom she had lost contact over the years. Feeling a wave of nostalgia, Ava decided to seek it out. After a few messages exchanged, they arranged to meet at a cafe. When Ava entered the cafe, she spotted Emily immediately. They hugged each other, laughing and remembering the old days. "You haven't changed a thing," Emily said, smiling. "Neither do you," Ava replied. They spent the whole afternoon talking, updating themselves on their lives. Ava told Emily about the recent challenges, and Emily shared her own struggles and triumphs. "You know," Emily said, looking into Ava's eyes, "it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing. Rebuilding a marriage after so much pain is not easy." Ava sighed. "Sometimes it seems impossible, but I love Daniel, and I want our family to work out." Emily held Ava's hand. "Remember that you are not alone, and if you need anything, I'm here." Back home, Ava found Daniel reading a book to Ben. The scene filled his heart with tenderness. After Ben fell asleep, Ava told Daniel about her reunion with Emily. "It was nice to look back on the old days and realize how much I've grown," she said. Daniel hugged her. "I'm glad you reconnected, and I want you to know that I'm also growing up, learning to be a better husband and father." Daniel's words resonated deeply with Ava. "We are growing together," she thought. That night, before going to sleep, Ava took out her journal and began writing. She reflected on how reconnections, both with friends and within her own marriage, were shaping her journey. She felt a renewed hope for the future. The following days brought new challenges and small victories. Therapy continued to reveal hidden aspects of their personalities and fears. Daniel, who had always been reserved, began to open up more, sharing his feelings and insecurities. Ava, in turn, learned to be more patient and understanding. One night, after a particularly intense therapy session, Daniel looked at Ava and said, "I never knew how much I needed this from us." Ava smiled, feeling that despite everything, they were on the right track. And as they prepared to go to bed, side by side, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together. Ava and Daniel's journey continued to be a mix of challenges and discoveries, but each step taken strengthened their love and commitment. And so, with each passing day, they got closer and closer to true happiness. Summer was advancing, bringing not only heat but also sudden storms. Ava and Daniel were in a phase of harmony, but life never ceases to amaze. One morning, while they were having breakfast, Daniel received an urgent call from work. The company was undergoing a restructuring, and he could lose his job. "Don't worry, Daniel," Ava said, holding his hand. "We will get through this together." The news was a hard blow. Daniel was visibly shaken, and Ava knew they would need strength and unity to face this new adversity. He spent the next week looking for new opportunities, while Ava supported him emotionally and took care of the house. One night, when Daniel was out for an interview, Ava sat with Ben on her lap, looking out the window as the rain poured down. He thought about how their lives had changed since that fateful night in the kitchen, when Daniel presented him with the spreadsheet. They had grown so much together, and now a further trial was before them. When Daniel returned, exhausted but hopeful, Ava hugged him. "How was it?" she asked, softly. "It was good," he replied, a tired smile on his face. "I think I have a good chance." Ava felt a wave of relief. "I'm so proud of you," she said, kissing him on the cheek. In the days that followed, Daniel was offered a new job. The tension that hung over the house began to dissipate. They celebrated with a simple dinner, but full of gratitude. With the new stability, Ava decided it was time to fulfill an old dream. She wanted to go back to work, but in something she was really passionate about. He decided to open a small bakery, something he had always dreamed of doing. Daniel supported her unconditionally. "You've always been amazing in the kitchen. It will be a success," he said, encouraging her. With Daniel's support, Ava began planning her bakery. "I spent hours researching recipes, testing new breads and cakes, and looking for a perfect spot." Ben loved to help, always ready to lick the spoon and give his honest opinion on his mother's new creations. Finally, after months of planning and hard work, Ava's bakery was ready to open. On the day of the inauguration, friends and family gathered to celebrate. Emily was there, with a big smile on her face, ready to support her friend. Daniel, holding Ben on his shoulders, looked at Ava proudly. "You did it, Ava. I'm so proud of you." Ava, moved, smiled. "I couldn't have done it without you by my side." The bakery quickly became a success, and Ava and Daniel's lives entered a new phase of joy and fulfillment. They had weathered storms together, and through them, they had grown into an even stronger team. As Ava and Daniel's journey continued, they knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they could always count on each other. And so, with courage and love, they moved forward, ready for whatever the future held. Autumn has arrived softly, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold. For Ava and Daniel, it was a time of reflection and gratitude. Ava's bakery was thriving, family life was balanced, and her love had endured all trials. On a quiet afternoon, Ava and Daniel decided to take Ben for a walk in the park. As they walked along the trails covered with dry leaves, Ava held Daniel's hand, feeling complete. "Do you remember where we started?" she asked, looking at him fondly. Daniel smiled. "How could I forget? From that first night in the kitchen until now, our journey has been a true test of love and perseverance." Ben, running ahead of them, stopped suddenly and pointed to the sky. A rainbow was forming, its vibrant colors cutting through the gray sky. Ava and Daniel looked on in wonder. It was as if the universe was celebrating along with them. "Look, Dad, Mom, a rainbow!" Ben exclaimed, his eyes shining with joy. Ava smiled, feeling a lump of gratitude in her throat. "Yes, Ben, it is a sign that good things are to come." Daniel wrapped Ava in a warm embrace. "We have overcome so many obstacles together," he said, "and now look where we are." They sat on a nearby bench, watching the rainbow slowly fade. Ava thought about how every challenge, every tear shed, and every smile shared had shaped them. She knew that even if new challenges loomed on the horizon, they would be prepared to face them together. In the evening, after Ben fell asleep, Ava and Daniel sat down together on the couch. "Sometimes I'm still surprised by everything we've been through," Ava confessed, looking at Daniel in awe. "Me too," Daniel replied softly. "But one thing I know for sure, I chose well the person with whom to share my life." Ava put her head on Daniel's shoulder, feeling at peace. "And I chose well too." As time passed inside their home, their love continued to grow, strengthened by the storms they faced and the joys they shared. The rainbow in the sky was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, light always found its way. And so, with hearts full of hope and love, Ava and Daniel knew their journey was far from over. They looked to the future, ready for each new dawn, knowing that together they could face any challenge and achieve all the dreams that were yet to come. Share this story with your friends. It can brighten their day and inspire them. See you in the next exciting story.